In this video, we are going to take a look at how war in Iran will completely cripple Russia. If you think the situation between Russia and Ukraine is bad now, just wait until Iran gets involved, because it's not going to be pretty for Putin. We re-gone? Nah. Dive into the details of why this is all about to go down, and why. Russia is panicking right now because things aren't looking good. It's actually going to be the worst decision that Putin ever made, because it's only a matter of time before Ukraine destroys Russia's ability to wage war in Iran. This is because if Iran gets involved, it will cause serious issues with Russia's supply lines. And here's exactly what's going to happen. But little did everyone know, this was actually a secret plan for Russia to spy on Iran, its nuclear facilities, and also to gather intelligence on the country. No one is the fact that Russia's economy is going to get hit hard by Western sanctions if they continue to support Iran. And number two, if Iran gets involved in the war, they will open up a new front that Russia is not prepared to fight. But fast forward to today, and we can see that this plan failed miserably, because Iran ended up building their own nuclear weapons. And the second that Iran decides to help Russia, they're going to get hit even harder. Well, immediately they're going to face serious economic consequences. You see, Ukraine is a very large country, and if Iran decides to attack them, they will have to split their forces up into multiple different fronts. And this will put a lot of stress on the supply lines that Russia is already struggling to maintain. The first option is to go through Turkey and open up a new front line in Romania or Bulgaria. And the second option is to come in from the south through the Black Sea and land in Odessa. At the same time, Ukraine will also start targeting the oil rigs and ports that Iran uses to refuel their ships. Well, then they have to worry about the Ukrainian counteroffensive, which will probably be even stronger than the first one. At the same time, Ukraine will also be reaching out to NATO and begging them to open up the airspace so they can strike Iran's supply lines. And this will make it extremely difficult for Iran to sustain their forces in the long term. And this is because Ukraine knows that Iran is trying to take their territory, so they will fight with everything they have. This will put a lot of stress on Iran's supply lines, and it will be hard for them to keep their troops supplied with food, water, and fuel. Now, there are other factors at play as well. On top of that, the United States and Saudi Arabia have a strong relationship, which makes it unlikely that they will support Iran in any way. For example, if Iran gets involved, it will also cause Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Middle East to take sides. When this happened, the U.S. provided air support and intelligence to help Saudi Arabia fight against Yemen. And this caused a major humanitarian crisis in Yemen, because it led to thousands of innocent people being killed. Also, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching. The U.S. eventually got out of this conflict after they realized that they could untrust the Saudis to not hurt innocent civilians. But this shows that the Middle East relies on outside powers to settle their disputes. And this is why Iran getting involved in the war will be a major problem for the region. If we take a look at history, we can see that Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Middle East have always relied on outside powers to protect them. And this is why they do want Iran to get involved in the war, because it will put them in a difficult position. Or the third option is to attack from the Middle East and take the long route through Georgia and Armenia. So let's say Iran sends in 100,000 troops to fight alongside Russia and Ukraine. Putin might think that he's getting help, but in reality, he's signing his own death warrant. Iran is only interested in their own nuclear weapons program, and they don't care about helping Russia. If things get bad enough, Iran will abandon Russia faster than they signed the agreement. What's going to happen is that NATO will comply with the request and destroy Iran's ability to wage war. This will cause the people of Iran to turn on their government and most likely cause a revolution that will remove the current regime from power. Well, right away, Ukraine is going to destroy those supply lines and cut off their access to food, water, and ammunition. Let's say Iran refuses to pull out their troops. Then they will have to deal with NATO and the United States getting directly involved. This means that Iran will be facing fighter jets, drones, and missiles that are capable of destroying entire battalions in seconds. To do this, Iran will first have to cross through Turkey into Eastern Europe, where they can start launching attacks against Ukrainian forces. This means they won't be able to purchase food, medicine, car parts, or even electronics for their citizens. But this will cause a major political crisis inside the country, because they woe and be able to save face and tell their people that they did everything they could to help Russia. This will cause the people of Iran to turn on their government and most likely cause a revolution that will remove the current regime from power. And this will cause a huge uprising from the Iranian people that could potentially lead to the fall of the regime. And it doesn't stop there, because there are other sanctions that target Iranian oil companies. First off, Iran would have to cross through the Black Sea, and they do and have a navy that can protect their landing forces. Yeah, this is where Ukraine has the advantage, because they can easily destroy Iranian vessels that try to enter the Black Sea, and they also target Iranian government officials and their families if they decide to break these sanctions. Now, the thing is that none of these sanctions were ever meant to hurt the people of Iran. They were only meant to pressure the Iranian government to stop their nuclear weapons program. But the problem was that regular citizens suffered while the government stayed in power. Basically, Iran cannot sell their oil unless they receive special permission from the United States. And this makes it difficult for them to earn money on the global market, which causes them to lose billions of dollars every single year. And this is what happened back in 2012, when the United States and their allies started imposing sanctions against Iran because of their nuclear program. The U.S. government put together a list of things that Iran cannot purchase from other countries. And this includes military equipment, weapons, anything to do with nuclear power, and even financial transactions. And now they want to help Russia because they know that he needs some assistance in Ukraine. So make sure you stay tuned to find out what's really happening. And basically, they're only helping Russia for one main reason, and that's to gain access to Russian technology. And once they get that, they can use it to further develop their own nuclear weapons program. You see, Iran and Russia share a common enemy, which is the United States. And this gives them a good foundation to build a strong relationship. Russia has been getting pounded by Ukraine in the last month, since they launched their counteroffensive in June. As soon as Ukraine started retaking territory, Putin realized that he was in trouble and needed to change something, or else his military would lose all of the gains that Russia has made over the past year. And this is when he decided to start bringing in more troops and equipment from Iran to help fight against Ukraine. And while it may seem like a great idea to get support from another country, in this case, first off, let me explain why Iran feels like they have to help Russia. We saw back in 2007 when Russia and Iran signed a deal to build a nuclear power plant near the Iranian capital of Tehran. But let me tell you why this is a terrible idea for Russia, because there are two major consequences that will happen that will completely destroy Russia's economy. Let's start off with the sanctions, because they're already in full force against Russia right now. And these sanctions have had a major impact on Iran's economy because they can no longer buy the things they need to improve their military or to even keep their current military equipment operational. On top of that, the United States also placed sanctions on Iranian banks, which prevents them from doing business with any country that isn't on the approved list. So let's say Iran wants to help Russia and decides to send over thousands of rockets, drones, and missiles to use against Ukraine. Now, if that wasn't enough, Iran getting involved in the war will open up another front that Russia couldn't handle. At the same time, Iran will also want to attack from the south through the Middle East. If we take a look at the map, we can see that there are three ways that Iran could potentially invade Ukraine. And while it might seem like an easy choice to just come in from the southwest and take Odessa, it's not that simple because there are many obstacles in their way. You see, once Ukraine receives word that Iran is sending in troops to support Russia, they will immediately start attacking the supply ships that carry the weapons and soldiers. Now, let's say Iran manages to bring in their troops and successfully takes Odessa. Ukraine will most likely do this by using artillery, drones, and tanks to destroy Iranian supply lines and prevent them from bringing in reinforcements. And here's where things get interesting, because Iran will have to choose between pulling their forces out of Ukraine or risking losing everything. So let's say Ukraine asks NATO to strike Iranian supply lines and ports. The other option for Iran is to pull their forces out of Ukraine and save themselves from destruction. Either way, Iran is losing in the long run, and this is going to cause a chain reaction that will lead to the collapse of Russia as well. For example, Saudi Arabia has already stated that they are against the war in Ukraine, and they refused to speak with Putin after he invaded the country. The same goes for the rest of the countries in the Middle East, because they rely on the United States for their security. The best example of this is back in 2016, when Saudi Arabia started a war against Yemen. So overall, Iran getting involved in the war will spell disaster for Russia, and it will most likely lead to the collapse of the country. What do you guys think about Iran getting involved in the war? Comment that down below.